Okay, this is just as an example. I just want to show you this as an example. This is the Scott River watershed-wide permitting program. And these documents, they come like this. And we're expected to understand all of the mitigation and all of the reports and all of these studies and determinations that are almost meaningless. Not only that, but they're based upon data that we aren't a part of. We didn't help to contribute to this, or if we do, they use it in such a minimal way. They don't want to hear from us. They don't want to hear from us as the landowners. They are suspicious of us. They doubt our ability to understand what's going on. And the historical data is very, very important. 100 years ago, there was not nearly, for instance, as much brush as there is in the areas around us and the mountains. And they consume a lot of water. And we don't have as much water, obviously. We haven't had the winters. Last year was a great winter, but we haven't had the winters traditionally that we've had. And so there's the same amount of water, but more and more needs are being demanded. More and more expectations are being laid on us to use the water well and creatively and constructively, which we've been trying to do. But so my husband, we come in and we have to read through this. And this document is for the USDA. This is the Environmental Justice Strategic Plan for 2002 and 2012. And it directs us in ways that are just, they really want to take away not just our water, but our right to farm. They want to impact our ability to even own land. All of these documents, this is for Caltrans and Fish and Game, the connectivity project, how they're going to work together. And really what they're going to do is remove more and more ranches from the land, and they're going to try and consolidate us. All of these agendas are somewhat hidden from the public, and people in urban areas have no idea what's happening around them and what's happening to us and what's going to eventually come down to them. And I think that that's the saddest part, is you have hard-working, average, independent people, and farmers are incredibly independent. They have a hard time wanting to group together and voice an objection. And so their voices have been overridden and ignored. They haven't been valued. And yet they know the land. They live on this land 365 days a year, lifetimes. And so they know the land. They know what it's capable of. They know what it's not capable of. They understand it. And so all of these things that are being imposed upon us by Sacramento and the federal government and even the United Nations are expectations that are grossly, grossly unfair and untenable. People cannot sustain life with these kinds of documents and permittings and limitations that are being imposed upon us every day.
So here you are, a small ranching family, and now you're finding that after a long day of work, your husband comes in and you and your husband are having to go through these 1,000-page documents to keep up with the permitting and the fees and the plans for your area. How is that impacting the farmers around here?
The stress is incredible. No, in fact, I was telling my sister today, a friend of ours over in Shasta Valley is now getting out of the business. He's not big enough to be sustainable, and he can't compete. He can't keep paying the fees. He's not going to live with these regulations any longer. He doesn't have children that want to come back because the operation can't sustain itself. And so, you have people that are so stressed. My husband wakes up at 2 and 3 and 4 in the morning worrying about how we're going to pay more permitting fees and how we're going to meet all these expectations and what's going to be left for the kids. I mean, it's really about our kids. Everything that we do in this operation is to preserve this ranch so that our kids and our grandkids can live and work here. And we do a good thing. I think that's the saddest part too, is that we do a really good thing for the world. My husband used to be very proud to say, I raise food for America and the world. And now he feels like a criminal. We're being made to be looked at as criminals, as people that are creating problems instead of being part of the solution. We're being strapped with 100% of the solution for water, and yet people aren't looking at other parts of that issue. The removing dams, over 900 dams have been removed in the United States. We don't have enough water as it is, and Fish and Game want to release 70 to 80% of it back to the ocean without stopping it and using it in any way. And we can recycle water. There's all kinds of ways to adjust to the problems, but they don't want to hear from us. They don't want to include us. They want to abandon traditional values of land ownership and property. They want to really reduce us to the level of being a pauper. And I think that anybody that doesn't understand that is really, really naive.
I think it's ironic too, is that a lot of the people who say they support the small farmer and all this local produce, and we want to buy at farmers markets and buy locally, all of this regulation, permitting, all of these things that are now happening in the last few years are actually working against that whole thinking. That the small farmer that can't make it is going to be run out of business, and what are you going to be left with? You're going to be left with having big farms that everybody says are the bad, evil things, these big corporations or whatever, and they're kind of shooting themselves in the foot. They're driving out the small farmer, and it's the antithesis of what they think they're supporting.
So what has happened to you? Like, what kind of permitting, like what kind of new things have been showing up in your mailbox?
Primarily having to do with the streams, obviously, and the creeks. We have been the subject of harassment. We have been targeted by extreme groups who have trespassed, who have taken photos of areas that we know that they have trespassed. They have used false information, and the lack of facts is just atrocious, and have put it on YouTube. They have sent out complaints, and so now we have letters and meetings with NOAA officials, National Marine Fisheries, which is ironic. We are not part of the coastal, I suppose we are a fringe of the coastal environment, but they really have very little jurisdiction here, and now we are facing potential action by NOAA because of one person who formulated a complaint and sent it to every agency, and it was based on false information and trespass, as I said. We have permitting fees just to be able to clean out our streams, which we have a right to. We've had 1,600 agreements, which I said earlier we maintain meticulously. We've never broken an agreement. We've never abused an agreement with the Fish and Game. We've actually worked with them on various projects, and they have found that we've been honest and straightforward. And so these permits come in regularly, yearly, to be able to even move gravel, which should be moved out of these creeks. A $2,000 bill is sitting in the window over there, another permit for inspection by somebody on the county level. And in 7 or 8 years, I think we've had an inspector come maybe 2 or 3 times, and they have no complaint, but we are expected to pay those kinds of fees over and over and over again every year. And not only one fee, we have to, just to remove gravel out of one creek, we have to have 6 different permits from 6 different agencies, state and federal agencies, in order to move that gravel. And even then, the permitting process is so slow, we've been waiting 3 years to get a permit from the Army Corps of Engineers. And Fish and Game, as I said, have had no argument with us. They're not happy about the fact that we have 1,600 agreements in place, and they would like to be able to control us more. Sorry about that.
That's probably them right now.
Yeah. That might